Hello, hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the intuitive card reading for the week of July 20th through July 26th. This would make the last full week of July. So, wow, I don't know. This month kind of went by fast, I feel like. All right, guys, you know what to do. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. Please share this video with anybody that needs to hear the energies and the influences of the week. What else? Comments down below. I always appreciate comments. I would love to hear if this is resonating for you. I'm kind of putting this out there for the collective, so it's always nice to hear if it's actually landing, if it's actually landing somewhere. Okay, same three decks that you guys are familiar with. I believe they're in a different order from last reading, but they're in an order, regardless, they're in an order that feels intuitively aligned for this reading. So let's jump right into it, guys. What do we need this week? We have athlete in the shadow, misuse of athletic ability for selfish ends, false sense of invulnerability and entitlement. Okay. I don't know why I read these because they're not always, the archetype cards can really apply in different ways, but, you know, it's not always exactly what the card says. But, okay, so when we think of athlete, we think of stamina, we think of going the distance, we think about willpower, we think about discipline, we think about all the hours an athlete puts into being the best version of themselves, like that kind of thing. So it's in the shadow. So to me, it's kind of saying, like, you don't necessarily have to do all that. That's the vibe that I'm getting here. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So basically it's saying that you kind of need to take a break. So if you've been disciplined with something, if you've been, you know, had willpower with something, which are all admirable qualities and amazing qualities and that kind of thing. But this is basically saying, like, you might want to take it down a notch or take a break of some kind. Guys, sorry if you're hearing rain. It's just started to rain and it's hitting my air conditioner. So hopefully that doesn't affect the sound. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to distract, but yeah, so basically he's saying maybe we need to kind of take a break. Like, maybe you have to be a little bit more undisciplined. Maybe you need to be a little undisciplined this week, okay? So maybe you need to be a little bit less structured. Maybe you need to be a little bit less going the distance, if that makes sense. So yeah, kind of saying you need a little bit of a break, but maybe not so rigid, maybe not so structured, maybe not so like you have to take a breather, okay? Because maybe there's a goal that you've been trying to hit, or maybe this is quite literal in the sense that you are an athlete, okay? And maybe you just need a break. Your body needs a break in some way, okay? So there's something here where it's saying, like, yes, it's very admirable to be in the athlete light attribute, but sometimes we need to be, you know, the reversed, which this was the reverse. So take a break, take a breather, that kind of thing. All right, what do we need to take action on? And by the way, the need is always about what we really need from, like, a soul level, okay? So maybe you're feeling this, maybe it doesn't actually stop this week, but yeah, you might be feeling like, I can't keep going like this, you know, that kind of feeling. All right, action needed, movement. All right, so this is basically saying we need to move our bodies, but maybe not push it so hard, okay? We need to not push it so hard, but maybe we need to move, okay? So, yeah, so move our body, get physical, do whatever you need to do. This could also mean, like, if you need to move, you know, if you've been meaning to do something, maybe this is saying, like, it needs to have a little bit of movement. So you need to take action on that for sure. Guys, hopefully you can hear me. Now it's just downpouring like crazy. Quite literally, as soon as I started the camera. I will re-record this if you can't hear it, but if you're seeing this now, that means I listened to it and I think it's all right. All right, issue, why? Okay, so this is about asking the deeper questions, getting more self-reflection, self-awareness, that kind of thing. So this is another issue, though. So it's basically saying we're having issues with that. So we might be having issues figuring out why something occurred. why something is happening to us, why we feel the way we do about something, why do we always behave a certain way. So there's some, you're trying to connect the dots, you're trying to self-reflect, and you're just kind of hitting the wall. So that might irk you all week, but I am confident that you'll figure it out. But yeah, it just feels like you're kind of at a crossroads there where you're trying to figure out your own behavior, maybe somebody else's behavior, and you're usually good at kind of connecting the dots, but in this particular situation, it's a little tougher. Challenge, we have seeker in the light, thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. We love the seeker, the truth seeker. So yeah, we're having challenges finding the truth, seeking something. Could be in the literal sense where we're having trouble finding a piece of jewelry. That's a challenge. We're having issues finding the right daycare for our kids. We're having issues and challenges, finding a misplaced item. It could be like as simple as that, or it could be more existential and spiritual in the way of finding the truth of something. That could be linked to what I just said about self-reflection, figuring out the truth of, the truth, the heart of it, of why you do the things that you do kind of situation. Or trying to figure out, I know it's not the detective archetype, but it's similar-ish to that. Maybe trying to find out the truth about someone else, like more of the detective, trying to seek truth, but we're having challenges finding the truth in some way, shape, or form. Change, we have, what's changing? Detachment. Okay, so we actually got this, was it in the same placement? I don't remember. But yeah, what's changing is detachment, so we're detaching from something. And I see this as a positive thing, and it's coming through positive. So it's basically saying we're detaching maybe from outcomes, from expectations, from other people's actions. We're looking at things at a more detached lens. So something that you've been kind of gripping tightly to, again, could be an outcome, could be an expectation, could be a person. So it might be like detaching from a person. Maybe you're in a relationship and you're deciding not to make that person like your whole world, and you're detaching a little bit. It's not a bad thing, but it feels like maybe you're centering yourself instead or something like that. But yeah, it just feels like you're detaching from whatever you've been obsessive about or super into, or clinging on to, like that kind of thing. So we're detaching from it, and like I said, I definitely feel like it's a positive thing. All right, focus. All right, the rain is slowing down now, which is good. All right, focus on by the book. Okay, so this is saying focus on structure, focus on playing by the rules, doing things in a, the word structure still comes up. I can't think of another word outside of structured, but that's kind of what it's saying, which I find very interesting, being underneath the athlete in the shadow, which I was just talking about, where it's kind of conflicting energies. But I will say it's kind of more so like you can follow, like focus on following the rules, like stay within that structure, but you don't have to be super structured. Like I just feel like the way that maybe we've been doing something is just completely like leaves like a perfectionist type of vibe going on, where we have to feel like we have to push ourselves beyond our limits. We have to be perfect. We have to grind. We have to do it to like this extreme. And this focus is basically trying to balance that out and saying, like, you can be within the confines, you can be within your discipline, you can be within your structure, you can be within all of those parameters. Just don't take it so far, because our soul is exhausted by it. Like I definitely feel like an exhaustion from that, if I didn't mention that before. But yeah, it definitely just feels like you can't maybe you can't keep going with the way that you've been doing things, or with your stamina like that, or you just can't continue to do so. But it's saying like you don't have to get rid of it completely. So you could still be structured, you could still live, within the confines of doing it, but you don't necessarily have to do it to the extremes. I mean, to take this sort of literally, if maybe you, like I said, if you are an athlete and you're training to do something, this is basically saying like you could still, maybe you're trying to qualify for the Olympics or something, right? Guys, this is just an example, but you're like you're trying to qualify for the Olympics, and you're pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself. But it's kind of saying like you don't have to stop. You just have to stop pushing yourself to your limits. That's it. Like you could still try to get into the Olympics, and qualify for it, but you don't have to get yourself all worked up and go in the beyond, that kind of thing. So you can stay within the confines, but you don't have to take yourself past your own physical limits and things like that. And get to burnout, essentially, right? So yeah, so focus on, being within the structure, but maybe, again, that word detach, maybe detach a little bit from it. Like, don't be so obsessed with it, if that makes sense. So yeah, hopefully that does make sense. If it doesn't make sense, questions down below as well. You don't just have to, not just comments, if you have questions. All right, reflect. Gossip in the light awakens consideration for the feeling of others' honor and trust. Okay, so this is in the light, so basically it's, gossip can sometimes be something that connects people in relationships. It definitely involves, like, communication. Could be a bonding experience. So basically it's saying to reflect on, we could take this, it's kind of specific, but, we could take this to, like, again, another more literal meaning where it's saying, like, it's okay, like, think about, like, your relationship to gossip. Like, how do you feel about it? When do you take it too far? Starting to see a theme here about Spirit really making us reflect on how we take things too far. Okay, so that's so far, at least that's what I'm getting. I know we're not done with the reading, but yeah, so it's kind of like another theme here of like maybe we take gossiping too far. Is it possible that gossip is healthy? Maybe you need like a night out to gossip with friends, and that's good for the soul, like that kind of thing. Talk about celebrities, talk about that, like that kind of thing. So this is asking you to reflect on your relationship with gossiping, but it could also be more broad, and maybe you have to reflect on your communication style, that kind of thing. But it is in the light, so like I said, I think it's more so about like more the positive aspects of gossiping and looking at that. Maybe some of you will have to think negatively about, like, maybe you've been gossiping too much, like that kind of thing. But yeah, whatever resonates, go with that. But yeah, I definitely do feel like it's an interesting one to get for that placement for sure. Responsibilities, we have persistence. Okay, so you're kind of conflicting as well here. Okay, so your responsibilities are to be persistent. So this is just kind of like reiterating what I'm saying. It's a little conflicting, but let me just explain. Persistence isn't pushing yourself out of your limitations, okay? Pushing yourself beyond, okay? But still be persistent with goals. So this is all right. So if I can sum this up, these 3 cards here, it just feels like maybe you guys have a goal, but this week you're gonna start noticing you've gone too far with it to try to achieve it. Okay, that's really kind of the story and the picture that these cards are starting to paint for me. Okay, so please don't do that. Please don't do that is the best way I can kind of say that, because but it's not saying don't give up. But it is warning of burnout. That's how you'll give up. Like, don't get to a place where you're going to have to give up what you want, okay? You gotta, don't let yourself get to that place of burnout. Don't go beyond your limits. Like, again, taking that athlete metaphor that I've been talking about. If you push yourself too far and then you break your legs, you are guaranteed not to get into the Olympics, okay? So this is what this is talking about. So be persistent, but please stay within the confines of what your limitations and what you're able to do and accomplish. Okay, so that's what it's saying. So it's not saying don't be persistent, because your responsibilities are to be persistent. Keep going. So just make sure you don't get to the place where, again, you like break something and you really can't go forward. So we don't want that. That's exactly what Spirit. And I feel like this is a warning, guys. I don't get too many warnings sometimes, but I feel like somebody out there really needs to hear that. Okay, so be careful. Money, finances, and career. I think this is always a good place to have this card, the leg up, the advantageous energy. So somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that can get you a job. Okay. You meet somebody this week that is a really good investor, and they give you tips on the stock market. Okay, so there's an advantage of some kind, like you have an inside tip from someone that you know. This could also be skills that you have that could really now elevate you this week in some way, shape, or form in your career. So you have, you have that for an advantage. Maybe you went to school for like drama or theater, and you're completely not in that realm, like in that career at all, but maybe for some reason some of that training comes in handy, maybe because you have a client that's, maybe there's a theater that is now your advertising client or something like that, and now you can talk to them and close the deal or something like that. Like now your theater knowledge, your drama knowledge is going to come in handy, like that kind of thing. So it's saying like use what you have for an advantage. Like you have a special advantage to utilize at work with money and finances to get you ahead. Okay, that's why we like the leg up card, because it's about getting ahead. And again, sometimes it could have a little bit of like a negativity thing, like I think of nepotism when I hear about a leg up too, because nepotism is like, a family member owns a business, so you go into that business because of that, you get promoted because of that. And yeah, again, everything has a light and a shadow. I feel like it's more light here, but I don't care what anybody says. For the most part, taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you is always going to be helpful and help elevate you. And again, I feel like it's in a positive way. I don't feel like it's like you're taking somebody's job because of nepotism or something like that. But so yeah, I think I explained that okay. For the most part. All right, surprise. I always like this lot because it's always, you never know what you're going to get, right? I mean, you never know what you're going to get with any of these cards, but the surprise is always, something thrown in the week that we're not necessarily prepared for. We have mediator in the light. Gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life. Respect for both sides of an argument. Okay, so a surprise mediator. All right, so maybe someone that you didn't think was mutual becomes mutual. Maybe you become the mediator in some way, shape, or form where you felt like you couldn't stay unbiased or mutual, and you do. So this is just a surprise mediation. Maybe you're going through a legal battle right now, and there's quite literally a surprise mediation where they want, I think they do that sometimes. I've done that before. It's been so long, so I can't really remember, but where they have like a mediation before going to trial, seeing if you can settle, the case before, they have to spend all this money and go to trial, that kind of thing. So maybe there's like a surprise mediation, maybe like a legal battle that you're having, but it definitely could just be like out of nowhere, because that's what the surprise is about. There is some kind of mediator role that you play or somebody else plays that, somebody that sees both sides, and somebody that like maybe you're estranged from somebody, and someone you would have never guessed brings you guys back together to discuss and talk and that kind of thing and make up. I don't know, something like that, but a surprise mediator. So look out for that. All right, friends, we have crystal quartz focus. Okay, so the focus on your friends. I mean, make them a priority this week. This is what this is saying. So somebody may need you. Maybe you need a good gossip sesh with a friend. You know, go out, have fun, talk, you know, vent, that kind of thing. So yeah, focus on your friends. Not too much more I can say there. Romantic connection, we have time to go. Oof, an interesting one to get for this placement. All right, so you might realize that the time is now to leave a romantic connection. Time to maybe break up with someone. Time to stop doing a particular activity with somebody. And I mean, like, maybe that's not the right way to say it. Let me think for a second. Maybe it's, I meant to say, maybe you, doesn't, okay, so it doesn't have to quite literally be that you're breaking up with somebody. It could be that you're breaking up with a certain part of the relationship. Maybe you're just not, you know, you're putting a boundary down and you're just not doing something anymore with this person. Definitely could be that. Could also be that timing is something that comes up in your romantic relationships, where you figure out like the timing is not right on something. Could definitely be it. Maybe you've realized that you've hit like a certain milestone in your relationships, or you're not on the right timeline with a partner. This is, guys, I'm trying to be positive, but I don't think I can be. This is not the greatest placement to get for romantic connections, okay? I'm not going to even sugarcoat it for you guys, but doesn't have to necessarily mean a breakup or that you feel like it's time to leave your partner, but it could mean other things. And if you're brave enough, put it down below. I would love to hear it, but it might be time. Maybe you and your partner decide that it's time to leave your city. That could be it, like that, you know what I mean? So it could apply in that way, and you guys leave together. Maybe you move across the country. But yeah, there's something that's like not working anymore in the relationship, with the relationship, and you're deciding that maybe it's time to go, kind of situation. All right, what's important? So many things are important, but what's really important? Shadow of the child orphan, feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families. All right. This is about, it's basically saying it's important not to latch on to things because you feel lonely. It's important that you don't abandon yourself to be with other people because you feel lonely. It's important that you don't stick around places that you don't feel accepted and wanted because you feel lonely. Okay, so I feel like this might have something to do with the detachment card up there, that maybe we're realizing that we've attached to certain things because we are lonely, or we feel like, you know, if anybody's the black sheep out there in their family, they could feel like this constantly. Or if you're quite literally an orphan, you know, you grew up in foster home or something, so you tend to latch on to people very quickly because you don't necessarily have that family background, which nobody's faulting you. It's just kind of something that naturally happens. We all want to be loved, accepted, you know, by our families, and unfortunately, the reality is it's not something that happens all the time. So yeah, so this is just about like kind of like latching onto something, codependency vibes, okay, that kind of thing. So it's important to pay attention to that. We don't want to be beating ourselves up over stuff like this, but it's important that we do pay attention to that. And again, what's changing is feeling like maybe we don't have to do that anymore, which is such a beautiful thing. Something is happening. We're feeling like we're more independent. We definitely got a lot of those messages last week. I remember that, about independence. So it's kind of just reminding us here in the important slot. Health and wellness. What do we got? Air. I can't say that word. Ruach. I remember when I first got this deck, I looked it up, and it's basically about presence. Okay, so being present, So health and wellness, so being present, staying in the present moment. Don't future trip, don't think about the past, think about where you are right now in your health and wellness journey. Just focus on what you can do right now to help yourself, like that kind of thing. And overall outcome, yang. Okay, so by the end of the week, so by the weekend, we're going to be in some yang energy. Okay, so the yang energy is getting stuff done. Okay, so we like that. So finally, if there's like a project or something, you finally kind of get it done over the weekend that you've been wanting to do, or you make a dent in something, you're actually super productive. We like that. So we end the week in that way. So that's a good one to end with. So, all right, guys, like I said, I think this is a pretty good week. Don't love the time to go. I would categorize this as a red flag. And again, red flag is just, it's not going to be smooth. it's not going to be super smooth. So our romantic relationships, but we've been getting like so many good cards in this section here for the last few weeks, last several months, I think. So, maybe one negative week. That's all right. We can handle it. You guys can handle anything. So, all right, guys, that's it. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.